right. Hi, guys. Welcome to Chapter 10. You've almost made it all the way through your 6th grade content, which is crazy. So, before we dive into Chapter 10, which is talking all about different types of graphs of data, I want to sort of go back and refresh and warm up our minds of different types of graphing that we've learned before, different types of ways of displaying information. And so for this first example, I want to go back to one of the basics. I want you to think of a bar graph. Remember bar graphs. What might a bar graph mean? What might a bar graph represent? And so a bar graph, hopefully, let's say that I asked you all, what is your favorite color? I collect all of the information and I can use that to represent, to show visually what I have found. So I want you to take a look at this. This is an example of a bar graph. So I have my favorite color. I want you to notice how I've used different categories. So I have the category of orange, blue, green, red, and yellow. And then over on this side, I have the number of students. So I'm comparing, I have the color, the different colors, and then I show how many each students chose this one as their favorite color. So a bar graph is a great way to demonstrate different data. This is a specific type of graph. We're going to learn all about different types of graph. This is obviously different than maybe a coordinate plane. So again, this is a bar graph. A couple of questions I want you to think about and answer on your own. So just by looking at this, what color was chosen the least? What color was chosen the least? And by looking at this, I can see orange. Orange was chosen the least. It only had 2 people that chose orange. Sorry to anyone that loves the color orange. So what about how many students said that green or red was their favorite color? So how many students said that green or red was their favorite color? So I want to look at, okay, here's green, here's red. Well, this is telling me 5 people, and I drew those lines so that you could kind of see. 5 people chose green and 6 people chose red. So 5 plus 6, that's 11 people that chose either green or red. So my answer to that question would be 11. What about how many students did not choose yellow as their favorite color? How many students did not choose yellow? So that means I want to add up all of the data of all of my different colors, not including yellow. So I can add up 2 plus 8, which is 10. So 10 plus green is 5. 10 plus 5 is 15. 15 plus 6, that's 21. That's 21. So I know 21 students out of, and I can add, this is 4. So 21 plus 4 is 25. If there's 25 students total that I collected data on, I would say 21 out of the 25 chose basically not yellow. Also, if I knew that I had 25 students who chose or who took this, answered this question, well, if there's 25 minus my yellow, so minus 4, I could say, okay, 25 minus 4 is 21. 21 people chose not to choose yellow, or yellow was not their favorite color. So then that last question is, just by looking at this, I could say how many students are in my class total. To find out how many students were in this class, like I just did, I can add up all the different data points from my bar graph. So another way of showing is something called a circle graph. So I want you to think of what is a circle graph. And I can hear some of you saying, oh, that's a graph that looks like a circle. And you are basically correct. So a circle graph, I'll just do it right here. A circle graph is going to look like a circle. And I had you guys do something, okay, that kind of looks like a lemon. That's okay. I had you guys do something like this at the beginning of school where I said, here's sort of a circle graph, also kind of referred to as a pie chart. And I wanted you to differentiate your, how you spent your free time. It was how do you spend your free time and what percentages do you do whatever X, Y, and Z of your different free time. So this is a circle graph. So I want you to think of maybe your favorite fruit. And so pretend if I was in class, I would probably collect your data and say, okay, how many of you is your favorite fruit a banana? And I would collect that data. So pretend like I asked you guys, there's 20 students of you. So pretend that this represents 20 students. Well, right now, let's say that I had 20 out of 20 students say that their favorite fruit was an apple. What would my um, circle graph look like? Well, if 20 out of 20 students, I have to find that percentage. 20 out of 20 is going to be a 100%. So 20 out of 20, that equals 100%. And how do I show 100% on a graph? I don't really do much. I just say that right now, pretend that 20 out of 20 students chose apples. I would just say right here, this represents 100% of apples. But let's say out of those 20 students, I say 5 out of 20 students chose apples. 5 out of 20 students chose apples. Well, I want to say, how can I represent 5 out of 20 students on a circle graph? Well, if this whole thing is 100%, I need to find the percentage of 5 over 20. So I'm thinking 5 over 20, I can either think about, well, what fraction is that? And convert that into percentage. Or I can say percents, that means I need my denominator as 100. So I think, well, 20 times 5 is 100. So then 5 times 5 is 25. So this is equal to 25%. I can also think as 5 over 20 as a simplified fraction is 1/4. So 25% is 1/4 of 100. So right now I can pretend here's my 1/4, and I could say that this is 25%. 25% of students chose apples. Again, this is just a review of a circle graph. So then let's say that I had 10 students chose bananas. So I have 10 out of 20 students chose, I'm just going to put BAN for bananas. And I'm thinking, well, 10 out of 20, what percentage is that? Well, I know that 10 out of 20 is a half. So right there, I know that a half of this circle will have to represent 50% is 1/2. And this is representing the students that chose bananas. And just to make it nice and easy, let's say that everyone else, the rest chose strawberries, which means 5 out of 20 chose strawberries. So this remaining is, again, 25%. 5 out of 20 is 1/4. 5 out of 20 is 25% chose strawberries. So this is just a review of kind of different types of graphs. And so today is really just getting back in the mindset of how can I use data and display it in a graph. So from here I could ask some questions of what percent of students did not choose bananas. So I could add up the apples and strawberries and say 50%. I could say what percent of people chose bananas and strawberries. I could add 50 plus 25, that's 75%. It's just getting comfortable with using this different knowledge on different types of graphs.